We mentioned some anniversaries of EPMA, 30 years and whatever. It was actually 20 years ago that I, the bright young thing, new into the industry, was the joint coordinator, co-founder of the Hard Materials Group. So 20 years on, we all met in London to reassess where we've been, what have we done well, what have we done maybe not so well, what do we need to do in the future. It was already mentioned that the European Hard Materials Group met in Plansee, and we have around 50 or so members that participate in these meetings. In this case, roughly half of the active people were in London for this workshop, where we basically came up with a number of recommendations. And one of the things that we've mentioned, you mentioned the brochures. We don't have one for the Hard Materials Group. It's one of the things we will do. Those, by the way, are not in any order of priority. They're just a list with the numbers. We will have to reassess our scientific roadmap, the club projects and so on, and how we structure these projects. We need to keep our competitive advantage. We need to keep our technology at the forefront of hard material, even though we're in an established and mature industry. We need to do more on training. The sustainability is not just sustainability in terms of materials and environment and energy, it's about people as well. So we need to do a lot more trying to get people into a less attractive industry, let me put it that way. I guess the hard metal industry has not got the best of images compared to the more trendy AM and other aspects. But we need to get people back into our industry. One thing we said we would do, because only half the people were there, we've really got to do a questionnaire with the rest of them. So when this document is finished, it will be circulated and we will discuss it in further detail. And we want to get more long-term industry roadmap, slightly different to the scientific roadmap. Where are we on raw material supply? I mentioned a couple of years ago we were a little bit concerned about the raw materials, and it's in Vision 2025 as one of the key aspects. And we've seen recently as well how the cobalt supply situation is going to drastically change in the next few years, as well as the legislative parts of it. So we've defined a series of actions as a group for what we're going to do, and there is some outcomes in a little bit more detail. This is going to be the same, I think, if we did this sort of meeting in any of the workshop, any of these, the sectoral groups, you come up with a very similar list of topics. And there are overarching topics as well with the centres of excellence and just awareness, media, internet, and so on. It's been mentioned about using LinkedIn and so on. I honestly don't use it very much myself. I should do, I guess. There are lots of people that I know also wouldn't know how to log into it, let alone use it. So we need to do a bit more training on that and awareness as well to promote ourselves. So there's some outcomes coming through. Actions have been defined. A little bit there, you won't be able to see it maybe, but 2026 is the 100th anniversary of the granting of the first hard metal patent. So we celebrated 90 years of hard metal in Hamburg. In 2026 we hope to be celebrating 100 years of hard metal in Europe. Let's hope that we can survive that long. Things are actually looking up. Business is positive. What was left of the production capacity following the crisis is really at the upper limit. The focus in companies is supply and demand. I mean, there are a lot of back orders. It's interesting how things have churned around in a couple of years, and Philippe mentioned it as well, this little sort of spurt that we have in terms of growth. And from my own personal experience and talking to a few others as well, actually, you know, as I say, companies are supplying the demand they've got on their standard products. There's less capability for doing more sort of one-on-one R&D unless there's a big business case behind it. It's understandable when you've got this sort of situation. What we're going to see for the next couple of years, I guess, is potentially this supply situation affecting us with the reclassification as well, being a threat on the horizon, or a looming cloud on the horizon. We're planning some scientific meetings, again, to also flesh out this scientific roadmap. We met at the 4-yearly Plansee seminar. This year is the summer event, the micromechanical meeting in Barcelona, followed by next year a nice, I heard somebody actually mentioning about cocktails earlier. We're actually going to go to Thailand this time. So this will be a nice one in the series of conferences, the 11th Science of Hard Materials Conference in 2019. And we're planning to restart the short courses as well on hard metals. there is a point, and Alberto mentioned it, and I just mentioned it myself. There is a changing of the guard. The industry is mature, and we are seeing some of the established names. I mean, I guess there's only one guy in our industry, and for those of you who know us, Kent Brooks has been around since the 50s, since the industry basically started growing outside of Germany. He's the last of his kind, and there are a generation younger than him, and then my generation, again, who are getting towards the end of our careers. We need to keep this sustainability, so we have that issue as well. But generally, I would say very positive, and let's keep our fingers crossed that it stays like this.